Another Bible passage comes to mind this morning, and it is the one from Romans, I think it's Romans 7, 1, 2, 3, where it speaks about a woman being bound to her husband by law until death. And how she's not free to be married to another husband until the husband dies. I interpret and understand and understand a lot of these Bible passages on another level than trying to apply it to external and literal situations. I read it in application to the soul, and this passage in Romans 7 for me is representative of the marriage of the wife, the soul, to the legal husband or the ego, and how the soul is not free to be married to another man, to Christ or the Christ mind, until the first husband dies. Now I have heard from other friends in regards to the ego that it ought not to be divorced, that there ought not to be a putting away of divorcement. And some people give ego a different role. They apply the wife role to the ego which marries the Christ. But I personally do not view ego in that manner. I do view ego as the husband, the first husband, that lays down the law of conditioning, under which the soul, the wife, as the soul, submits, but not willfully. She submits through conditioning, through indoctrination, and through trauma. She submits unwillingly, but just to survive and to avoid the domestic harshness and abuse. And but deep in her heart, she wishes to be married to another husband, represented by Christ, by the Christ mind, by higher consciousness than the lower consciousness of the ego mind. And so it says she cannot be lawfully married to the other husband until the first husband dies, which to me spells out the ego death. There are many passages in the scriptures that allude to the death of the ego, not the marrying of the ego. For example, the Book of Revelation makes reference to the beheading of the saints, which to me is metaphorical of getting rid of this ego husband, of this head, this masculine this unbalanced masculine energy, and of the illusion. Ego really is the illusion that somehow got into this marriage, but makes for a miserable husband. And so we have to find a way to cause that husband's death so that we can be free, so that our soul can be free to be married to this other wonderful husband of the Christ mind. Now, in this particular interpretation, the scripture is not talking about the law as the Old Testament or the Ten Commandments. It has nothing to do with external law. It's speaking about the inner conflict between ego and soul as it's borne out in Romans 6, where Paul is writing about this conflict within himself, that of wanting to do different, but not being able to. This conflict between good and evil, or between his ego and the soul. And that's the back and forth, the battle for the soul that's going on internally. And since divorce or putting away is not lawful, we have to wait for this old husband to die. And I maintain that ego is the party that needs to die, so that the soul can be free, truly free, free from under this law of ego and its constant accusations. Well, you get my gist, I hope. So, the parable of the ego and the soul continues, and that is the theme throughout the whole of scriptures at this level. If we don't read it at this level, we're not going to get the benefit of the writing. It's really, I see this to be the most accurate application. And I hope it makes sense to you.